The external meaning of Ekadashi Upavas. Upavas, as we know, is fasting. And Ekadashi, as you said, is the 11th day. So externally, the Ekadashi fast or the Ekadashi Upavas means fasting from grains and beans on the 11th day. The waxing and the waning, both of the moon. The inner meaning is very interesting. Ekadasha is which numeral? 11. Eka is 1, Dasha is 10, and 1 plus 10 is 11. Interestingly, in the astrological calculation, the tithis are given names according to the numbers in which they appear. Like Tritiya, there's a very auspicious occasion of Akshay Tritiya, the 3rd day. The day when Lord Ganesha appeared is Ganesh Chaturthi, the 4th. Nag Panchami. Odana Shashti. Advaita Saptami. Radha Ashtami. Ram Navami. Vijay Dashami. And the next is Ekadashi. You see how just on the basis of numbers you have different occasions. But the inner meaning is Ekadasha, 11. And Upavas. Upa means closer or near. And Vasa means to stay or reside. To stay close to Krishna through all your 11 senses is Ekadashi Upavas. What are the 11 senses? 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, and the mind. Ekadasha. And Upavas, staying close to Madhava or Krishna through all your 11 senses by total absorption in his service. Ekadashi Upavas. So sometimes people ask this question, how do you please the Lord? How do you get Krishna just by fasting? You don't get Krishna by fasting. But the process is, you absorb your consciousness so much in the service of Krishna that you put your basic needs of eating and sleeping behind your back. You reduce your basic necessities of eating and sleeping so that your absorption at the lotus feet of Krishna through all your 11 senses increases. Balancing. Following the rules, not just for the sake of following them, but understanding the spirit. If you miss the spirit, then it simply is a ritual. And when you add the spirit, it becomes spiritual. Yes? So that's the thought process. Okay. In the study of the DNA, there's a concept called as junk DNA. All right? In the DNA strand, which carries the information about our physical body, there's a piece, part of that DNA, which carries no information about our body, which is called as the junk DNA. In fact, for a long time, scientists used that principle to say that God doesn't exist. Because if you say God exists and He's the one who creates life, then everything has to be perfect. But this is a mistake. Look, there's a piece of the DNA and it carries no information. Why would your all-perfect God create something as a portion, part of your DNA strand, but carry no information? Therefore, they called it junk DNA. And in fact, many of these scientists call that as the mistake of God. For a long time, scientists felt that cells, when they split and they redouble and like they just duplicate themselves, they can go on and on and on and on like this. They can just duplicate themselves forever. But recently, scientists came up with a new study. They said it is not possible. That cannot go on forever. Because when cells duplicate, the DNA duplicates, and every time the DNA duplicates, a small piece of the junk DNA is lost. Are we all on the same page? There's a piece called as the junk DNA, and every time the cell duplicates, the DNA duplicates, a small piece of this junk DNA is lost. And every time it is lost, your life is reducing. The size of the junk DNA or the pieces of the junk DNA which are lost, they determine your duration of life. more the junk DNA and the less the pieces lost, the longer you live. Faster the pieces lost and bigger pieces lost, you're getting close to death. Make sense? So then they came to know, the scientists said, well, the cell cannot go on forever, but can just replicate and duplicate itself maybe 40 to 80 times. And at the end of 80 such duplications, the junk DNA is completely lost and it's gone forever. But what is the purpose of this junk DNA? Scientists, through their study, they found out it is like the casing at the end of our shoelace. It protects the information in the DNA from both sides. Look at Krishna's beautiful creation. He keeps your information in the middle and he protects from both sides with casings so that your information is intact. Now, if that portion of the junk DNA is getting lost, as soon as it is completely lost, you will find that there is fusion or unraveling of the characteristics and you're dead. Yes? So scientists perform many experiments to get to know how to increase our lifespan, which would happen in two considerations, in two conditions. Please, this is just the speed breaker, so to speak, in our class because it's too scientific. And after that, it's just a smooth path. So to increase life, scientists wanted to do two things. One, reduce the rate of the cell splitting so that the lesser it splits or duplicates, the lesser the DNA duplicates, the lesser or the less frequent would the pieces from the junk DNA be lost. Right? Second, even if that is frequent, the pieces lost from the junk DNA should be very small. So that just small pieces are lost and the person can live forever or for a long time. This junk DNA in the scientific terms is called as a telomere. All right, you can search on Google, you'll find all of this. In fact, on this discovery that I'm talking about, scientists were given the 2009 Nobel Prize for whatever we are speaking. So on the basis of their experiment, they wanted to know how we could reduce the rate of cell duplication and also reduce the size of the telomere lost. Telomere. It's T-E-L-O-M-E-R-E, telomere. Through repeated experiments, they got to know that if you really want to succeed, then you have to reduce the calorie intake. It is directly connected to the calorie intake. More your calorie intake, more bigger chunk pieces of the telomere lost, or faster is the rate of the duplication, and lesser the calorie intake, less is the rate, and person lives longer. Different people to experiment on. And in the first experiment, they had 14 students on whom they were experimenting. So what they did was they got down their calorie intake by 25%. And they continued this research for 15 days, one fortnight. At the end, they found out that the results were really nice. Very good results, as they expected. But one problem. The students started feeling very weak. Because of which, at the end of 15 days, they went back to their regular diet. So this was good, but not feasible. After regular and multiple experiments, they got to know that this same result can be obtained by fasting for 36 hours once in 2 weeks. They were given a Nobel Prize for this, and Krishna said that's Ekadasi. "36 hours of a fast." How is that 36 hours? Sunset of Dashami to sunrise of Ekadashi is 12 hours. And then 24 hours of that day. And then you break your fast. 36 hours. So Ekadashi fast is not just spiritual, but even on the material plane, if you want to live longer, please fast. And they found, for those who fast like this, 36 hours once in 2 weeks, the cell duplication rate is less.